Someone asked me, they're like, well, what was the difference between when you started selling work and when you spent a decade not selling work? Was there a difference? Before I started selling my stone carvings in a gallery, I was an artist for about a decade and I hardly sold anything. I was actually a painter. I worked for about 10 years, basically struggling as an artist. I had finished art school. I wanted to make it as an artist and I was painting in my studio. I didn't really know about selling work. And actually, on some level, I believed that money was the root of all evil, right? I kind of vilified money. And so it was like I pushed it away. I reached this point, nothing was working. I was in a gallery, never sold anything. I kind of, in a way, just accepted like, well, maybe there's something else I could do. And I had a little hiatus and I wasn't really pushing the art. Also made peace with this fact that like, well, I don't need to do this for my happiness. Like, my happiness is not dependent on whether I'm doing art or not. Art is a secondary thing. You know, I kind of reprioritized myself, like putting myself as the number one point. I also started getting interested in sales and money. How do I sell something? Reading sales books. And then I saw an ad in the paper for a gallery looking for stone carvers. I never did stone carving. I was a painter and a drawer. But I looked at this and I thought, well, I could probably do this. I ended up partnering with this gallery and I learned the process of stone carving and I started selling my work in this gallery, and I would create a piece and put it in the gallery and it would sell for thousands of dollars, and I'd never sold anything for that before. And it was consistent and I kind of broke through a threshold and here I was now selling my work. So what were the differences? One of them was my mentality around money. I started becoming interested in sales and incorporating that dimension into my work. Like, well, how do I actually practically do this and make money and learn how to sell my work? Before I was like, if the artwork is good enough, it will sell itself. That's maybe not the case. That was one major shift that occurred during that time when I had stepped away, was I became interested in money and sales. The second one was I started stone sculpture. It was a completely different material. And I also let go of a lot of these preconceived ideas that I developed in art school about what art is supposed to be. The idea of a masterpiece and this artist that is on some magical pedestal that everyone adores, that he's something mysterious. I let go of all of that. People are just people creating. The mysterious genius does not exist. I'm not saying people can't be geniuses. I'm just saying the way we've romanticized it and separated ourselves from that ability to create, I don't agree with. I let go of a lot of these ideas that I had about art. And when I started doing these stone sculptures, which you see behind me, this is a wildlife piece. It's a polar bear out of Italian marble. I would have never done wildlife because I was sort of programmed to believe that wildlife wasn't real art. It was lesser art. But I had walked through a lot of this when I had stepped away, and I thought, I don't care anymore about who thinks art is good or bad or whatever, like the art world and trying to have other people recognize and value what I'm doing. I'm going to try this wildlife thing out. I said I would never do wildlife art, but here's this opportunity to work with this gallery, and they wanted us to create these bear carvings and wildlife carvings because that was sort of the theme of the area and the market in that area. So that's what I did. I started carving wildlife and they started to sell. I always look at this one dimension too of like, it was easy. There was an ease to it. I mean, not saying it's easy, it's freaking hard, but I had a lot of hang-ups with my paintings, like a lot of issues tied into my personality and my ideas of success and who I was. So maybe completely breaking free and going to a different medium allowed me to drop a lot of this baggage that I was carrying and tying to painting. And I started stone carving, and the pieces were easy. I wasn't trying to change the world. I wasn't trying to deliver this message with my art. I realized over the years that I can deliver a message, and I'm doing that right now by talking to you. I can do that whether I'm doing art or not. I took off a lot of these rules, and so I was carving these wildlife pieces, and there was a market for it, which is another thing. There was a market for it, an established market. A gallery, I got introduced and connected with a gallery that was in a area where there was a lot of money flowing through. That was the main thing. This whole time I thought, oh, I'm bad at art. No, I just didn't have my art in the right spot. Location, location, location. It's kind of true, right? Gallery had a system in place for selling artwork. They had qualified clients walking in. They had a process. If they wanted to buy something, they had a shipping process. So all of these kind of networks and channels to actually sell were in place. And I stepped into that, and I was able to sell my art because of that. So I did. I switched mediums, and I switched subjects, I guess you could say. I became a sculptor. And I said to myself, well, I'm going to let go of all my judgments and my preconceived ideas around like wildlife art. And I'm going to put myself into it. And I'm going to see what I can do. Because I was still there creating the art. I'm going to see what I can do. I'm going to let go of all this. I'm going to see who I am within this. I'm going to give everything I've got to this and see what kind of wildlife art I create. Put my unique expression out there and into this medium. And that's what I did. And that was 13 years ago. And I've been selling these pieces ever since. Now, it hasn't been like a smooth sailing ride, but here I am. I've established quite a body of work. I have my pieces and collections all around the world. I've made more money than I thought I could with art. I was at a point where I didn't think I could actually make a living with art. But having sort of this established sales process and system there that I could sell my art through really worked. That's why gallery was really good for me. Maybe it could work for you too. I don't know. I think everyone's different. But during that time, it was important for me, and I was able to build my confidence as an artist and as a human. And that was it. Those were some of the big main differences of why I wasn't selling my work to then actually starting to sell my work full time. Treating what I was doing like a business, embracing the sales side of it. And, my work before was maybe not as marketable, although I would hesitate to say that now with social media and seeing the types of art that people are doing. And it's kind of like people following their hearts, which is really cool to see. I'm going to start working on this piece, finish this piece this afternoon. All right. Thank you.